Hello and welcome to English Across the Pond, a podcast for learners of English who want to take their language skills to the next level. Hosted by me, Dan from England, and Jen from America. Join us every week for a mix of chat, fun, and language improvement. English Across the Pond. Good morning, Jennifer. Good morning, America. How are you?
I'm great. Good morning, the UK. No, sorry. Good evening, the UK.
Yeah.
Amateur mistake of time differences there.
Yeah, no problem. It's the early evening here. And we thought a nice topic for today would be English for getting to know people, for sort of introducing yourself. Of course, really important language, but also nice for us to have a chat about that and let our listeners sort of get to know us a little bit. So have you got a question for me, Jen?
I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. I would like to ask you, where are you from?
Well, put simply, I'm from England, and I'm English. But of course, I'm from the UK as well, the UK being like England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. I'm also from Britain, but I was born in a small town in the middle of England, and I lived there when I was a kid. But now I live in the northeast. I now live in Scarborough. It's a seaside town, but I'm originally from Ashby de la Zouch.
Ooh, that's a fun word to say. Ashby de la Zouch.
De la Zouch.
Oh, well, a lot more fun to say than it is to be accurate.
Yeah, 4 words. Ashby de la Zouch. It's because, France is so nearby, and they, invaded 1,000 years ago and changed a lot of the names. So, yeah, that's why we say Ashby de la Zouch.
Ashby de la Zouch. Well, that's a lot more interesting than where I'm from in terms of the name.
Can I ask you where you're from, please?
Yes, and similar to you, where I'm from and where I live is very different. Mm-hmm. So I am from the USA, the United States of America, or, I'm American.
Yeah.
So I was born in San Diego, California. Some say America's finest city. And I'm not just being conceited, that's really a thing.
Yeah, not just the people from San Diego, California.
Yeah, not just the people from San Diego say that. You can Google America's finest city, and I bet you will find San Diego. That can be a challenge for the listeners.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to do it.
Yeah, America's finest city, and you will see San Diego. Anyway, so I'm from there. Mm-hmm. Not from the actual city, so I don't live like downtown or right on the water. San Diego, the county is huge, so I'm from a more inland town within San Diego, and I left pretty quick as soon as I could at 18 and moved closer to the city, and then spent some time traveling around, and ultimately it has led me to where I'm living currently right now, which is in Tucson, Arizona. And
is it far from where you're originally from?
It's about a 6.5 hour drive.
So in American terms, is that far, or is that normal, or?
That's an interesting point that I have found. Typically, a lot of non-Americans that I speak to will often say, "Oh, how far is that?" "Oh, it's X amount of miles." And in my brain, when someone tells me, "Oh, it's X amount of miles," I'm like, "Okay, cool, but how far is that? How long?"
Yeah, sure.
Where I find and a lot of Americans, a lot of people in my community at least, will say, "Oh, it's hours. It's X amount of hours to somewhere." Mm-hmm. So, let's see. It's about 375 miles.
Okay. That's quite a long
Something
way.
around that. Yeah, and it's the closest water to my city within the states. So I could drive down into Mexico. I'm only about an hour and a half from the Mexican border. Mm-hmm. And then I could drive maybe an hour or two further than that to get to some water. But yeah, stateside, 6.5 hours is the closest water.
Wow.
I miss it.
Yeah. And for me, the nearest water is about 4 minutes, maybe. I live by the seaside, so yeah, the sea's really close. So,
I'm sorry, can you hear the water when you sleep?
Sometimes, yeah, when it's windy and stormy, yeah, you can hear it even with all of the windows shut. You can kind of hear this. It doesn't sound like the sea, it just kind of sounds like a sort of like noise in the background, this sort of constant noise. But yeah, if you go outside, you can hear the sea, yeah.
Oh, but I love that sound.
Yeah, it's kind of pretty like ferocious sea. You know, it's freezing cold, and like it's a nice sound, but it's also like the power of it. It's not really a very relaxing sound. It's sort of like a bit sort of intimidating. You know, it's a huge noise. I've got a question, Jen. What do you do?
What do you do? That's a good use of the word do. I am an English teacher. Mm-hmm. I am an English teacher, and, with that title, an English blogger. Mm-hmm. So I blog and I write articles about English, how to teach English, make some YouTube videos as well. Mm-hmm. And, I fall under the category of being self-employed or, working for myself because I started my own company.
Oh.
So an entrepreneur of sorts.
Wow. And how are things? Is everything going okay?
Things are going so great. It's only continuing to grow and expand as business should. And I'm fortunate that it has been.
Yeah, nice one. Congratulations.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, sir. And what about you? What do you do?
I'm a teacher too. I've been teaching English for, I think now, which probably is 20 or 21 years. It's something like that. I'll say around 20 years. I teach English. I teach in a school at the moment. I teach online too. I have an Instagram account that I post sort of educational videos to, and I make podcasts with you because this is the first one.
Nice. I forgot about the Instagram and adding podcasts to my resume. Yes.
Yeah. Happy teacher, love to teach. Always, I didn't know if I said English teacher. I've always been teaching English, and I love it. I love to meet people, and classrooms or learning environments are nice places to be. So I'm happy in my job.
Fabulous. That is the most amazing way to feel.
Have you got a question?
I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. It's future plans and dreams.
Whoa. My daughter is nearly 9, and so, it's just nice to be with her and see her, hopefully see her reach her goals and dreams and support her. But for me, just to keep on teaching, use technology more. I like to teach, and, it's in a classroom you can teach maybe 10, 20, 30 people. But of course, online you can reach so many more people. So I'd like to reach out more and hopefully get in touch with more people around the world and help them improve their English. So really, just keep on keeping on, just keep on going and doing what I'm doing. I'm a happy boy, happy husband, happy father. So
a happy camper.
Indeed.
Do you have that expression in British English?
We do. And what about you? Where are you going to be in 5 years? Or, is there any great dream? Anything in the pipeline?
Ooh, lots in the pipeline. Mm-hmm. Well, we will be, expecting a new little bundle of joy in fall.
Yeah.
So we are so excited to welcome a baby boy in fall this year. Mm-hmm. So I know our lives will dramatically change, and you know more than I do just how much it will change. Mm-hmm. And we're just really looking forward to this, expansion of family. Yeah. And with that, I am so happy, and it really was one of the reasons I decided to start, English Outside the Box was to have the flexibility of work and family. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited that the opportunity will be able to happen. So don't worry, we will be podcasting. I will be blogging. We'll be teaching, through the birth and the baby's upbringing. So you'll get all kinds of updates about little boy.
Yay!
Yay! So I'll continuing to be, teaching online, adding to the blog.
Yeah.
And same with you. I'm so happy where I'm at and so happy teaching. So it's great to have found a job. I think I'm speaking for us both when I say I think it's so great to have found a job that we're both equally so happy in and content with.
And congratulations on, the upcoming addition to your family. And, of course, good luck with everything. And if you need any advice, don't ask me.
I won't. If I need fatherly advice, I'll search the World Wide Web. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, but also it's kind of like, that you've got, it's instinctive as well. And it's nice to just do things like, however you want to do them as well. I mean, of course, if you get really stuck, there's loads of family and friends around. But what's nice is I remember getting our daughter back from the hospital after, she'd been born a couple of days before. And we got home and it was kind of like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
What do we do now?
Yeah, there was no nurses and no doctors. It was just me, my wife, and this little thing. So, let's go out. And we just put her in this kind of pram or pushchair thing and just sort of went out. But it was suddenly this moment of right, here we go. Which was a long time ago now.
Yes, I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
We can do a future podcast episode on, language for babies or raising children, growing up, and a lot of really key vocabulary. I think that would be great.
We could maybe do a week of it. There's a whole world of kids and baby sort of vocab, I think so.
Yes.
So, one thing I'd like to sort of highlight while we're looking at this, getting to know you and introducing yourself or, asking questions of somebody is the phrase, how do you do? Do you know the phrase, how do you do?
How do you do? That's a very British, old-sounding question.
And would anyone in America ever say it, how do you do?
No.
No, and historically, traditionally, the reply to how do you do is you repeat the same thing back. That's, in old movies. But the reason I wanted to mention it is because I don't really think that people say it anymore. I haven't heard it here for absolutely years. And it's almost like if you said, how do you do, you'd be kind of acting or having a joke or something. And, you'd be acting like somebody from 50 years ago. So if, maybe our listeners, if your course book or if your teacher says something about how do you do, I would say personally that I don't think we really say it anymore. It's something that's sort of confined to history. It is true that you answer how do you do with the same phrase, but like I say, nobody really uses it. So don't worry about how do you do anymore. Forget it.
Yes. I do like that you kind of made the comment that it kind of references the past and people might use it in a silly way.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
so I might see you, I might meet up with you and say, oh, Dan, how do you do? Just to be silly and kind of use an old phrase.
Yeah. And I would immediately have to shake your hand and say, how do you do back?
Yes.
Yeah. And so
but ultimately, the question is really saying, how are you? Is what we would say nowadays.
Yeah. There's so many things how are things? How's it going? What's up? And all those sort of things. But yeah, very formally, it creates a picture of a man in a suit, with a special old sort of hat on, a bowler hat.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's just a way of saying hi. Yeah.
Yes. Perfect.
Was there something that you wanted to point out, Jen?
Well, I would love to kind of highlight a couple of, an idiom and a phrasal verb to take away this episode.
Mm-hmm.
An idiom and a phrasal verb. So obviously right now we are meeting virtually because this is a podcast.
Yeah.
However, in the real world, we might have this same type of conversation, or when you meet someone and you start to get to know somebody, right? Mm-hmm. When you start to learn more about them, new friends or colleagues, you would use the phrasal verb to meet up with someone.
Yeah.
So I could ask you, hey, Dan, I would love to talk with you again. I'd love to get to know you. You sound like a great guy. So maybe we can meet up next week and have coffee.
Sorry, did you say, can you meet up with somebody virtually as well? Can you use it in the same way, would you say?
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
Like we're going to meet up with each other next week.
Yeah.
Online. But, so you can definitely use it online. But for anyone learning English to use in their real day-to-day life, that's something you can also, and probably more commonly, use on the streets.
Yeah.
So as listeners probably know, phrasal verbs are so common in English.
Yeah.
So this is definitely one to add to the book of phrasal verbs.
The never-ending phrasal verb book.
Never-ending phrasal verb book. And a little information about it, not to get too grammar, but for my grammar nerds out there.
Yeah.
This would be a 3-part phrasal verb.
Yeah.
To meet up with. Main verb meet. We have the particle up and then that preposition with. So it's a 3-part phrasal verb, and it is inseparable, meaning you must keep meet up with all together.
Yeah, because some phrasal verbs we can split, but you can't say like meet up someone with. That's what you mean, yeah? That it's all stuck together. You can't put anything in between.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification.
No props.
Yeah, so we'll go over phrasal verbs and idioms in future podcasts. So definitely I recommend maybe starting a notebook, writing some of these down.
Yeah. And an example sentence would be, I'm going to meet up with Neil for coffee next week. I'm going to meet up with Neil for coffee next week. How's that for an example? Is that okay?
That's a perfect example. And taking it virtually, I'm going to meet up with you next week as well.
I can't wait.
Yes.
And an idiom. Sorry.
Yeah. Leading kind of into that. If you have a date or if you want to meet up with somebody, but you can't, there's a common phrase that you can say, I can't meet up with you next week, but let's take a rain check.
Yeah.
So the idiom to take a rain check means to, tell someone or say you can't meet at the time that was suggested, but you want to do it, so you want to do it at a later time to be determined.
Postpone rather than cancel.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And do you think it comes from it's raining so that we can't do it now, we'll have to do it later? Do you think that's where it comes from?
That sounds very on point.
Yeah, it sounds right, doesn't it?
It does. It does sound right. I can't... Mm-hmm.
Have you taken a rain check recently?
I have had to take a rain check, yes, because I had a lesson come up that was rescheduled. So I took a rain check on a coffee date with a friend and did a lesson instead.
Okay, nice one. So you took a rain check because of your online teaching?
Yes. So I said to my friend, I'm so sorry, I'm going to have to take a rain check.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So we have had a little chat about introducing ourselves to one another. I talked about an old-fashioned expression. We did a phrasal verb and an idiom. It's been action-packed. This
has been an action-packed first episode.
And also, it's amazing, I think, how quickly the time goes, rushes past. I think we thought maybe it would be, a short podcast, but actually once you get talking, it's difficult to stop.
It is. It's so hard, and we just get along, or we get on so great that it's so easy to have a conversation with you. And I think this natural conversation and dialogue is a great way for our listeners to hear so many more types of words, vocabulary, and phrases that we're using naturally.
Yeah.
As well as pay attention to our accents, how we link or connect words together. So there are so many ways to benefit from this podcast.
And how many other podcasts in the world have got a British speaker and an American speaker speaking together at the same time?
Not a lot. That's why we're doing it.
Yeah. So hopefully for people who are like, I don't know whether to learn British English or whether to learn American English, of course, you're getting both sort of like at the same time. So, we hope that that's really useful for you. I mean, it's lovely for Jen and I to have a chat together and introduce you to some new language. But as I say, you're getting hopefully like the best of both worlds. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast number 1. It's been great to have a chat with Jen. It's been great to make. And if you want to write any comments underneath this podcast, you could let us know your thoughts on it, anything that you think would make it better, any comments that you have, any questions about, getting to know people. And of course, something that you'd like to see, anything you'd like us to include in future podcasts would be really, really helpful as well. So thanks so much for listening, and see you next time.
Fabulous to have you. Thanks again, and goodbye from the US of A.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And we have a very, very exciting update we would like to share about English across the pond. We are happy to announce that this episode now has a study plan and transcript. Make sure you sign up to become a member or to get this transcript by heading over to our website now at www.englishacrossthepond.com/gold.